So today's game space is optimize your browser. So we're going to go to the game page here on my website and scroll down and find optimize my browser. And the first thing that we're going to just to give you a good foundation, which I'm sure many of you already know exactly what I'm talking about. Your browser is the thing that you use to get about in the internet. And so that means the browser means this section right up here at the very top of your internet website. So this section right here is a toolbar, or bookmarks bar. This section right here is the website that we're on. These little tabs are different websites that I am open to or I have on. And this up here is called tabbed browsing. And so this particular program, this bit up here, is probably the most powerful program you have on your computer because it allows you to do everything on the internet. It allows you to be in the cloud. So anytime you're using your browser, and that's, Chrome, Safari, Firefox, and Edge are the big four browsers that we work with. Anytime you are in your browser, that really means you're on the cloud. So when I'm talking with someone and when I'm working with someone in their email or their cloud drives or their files, I usually consider this to be the source of that information because it is in the cloud. It's the information is found elsewhere, so to speak, and we are just driving about the internet on our browser. So optimizing this browser is one of the most powerful things you can do for your productivity. Because when it works right, you can drive so much better. I mean, imagine trying to drive around town with the seat way back so you can't touch the pedals, or with the seat way, way, way forward so you can't actually maneuver. You need to know where your wipers are and your blinkers and all that stuff. And that's what we're going to work on here as far as optimizing your browser, because you can make it work the way you want it to work. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is choosing a starting point for your browser. So when you turn it off, when you click your little red X over here, or if you have a red X on the other side, if you're on a PC. So here is as how the browser looks on the PC. This is the same Chrome browser. It looks a little bit different because I'm on the PC, and here I have a red X. When I use this red X, it will want to go to a specific set of tabs or a specific thing. Sometimes it's the last things I had open, or sometimes it's just a specific website. This is one of the things that I consider to be the home. So I'm going to go slide back over here onto the Mac because that's my primary machine. For this particular browser here, you can tell kind of where your home page is by opening a new tab. So I'm going to click that little plus and it gives me a new tab, and my particular home is Google. Now I can customize that by going into my settings. Settings are super exciting for a lot of things, and they're often found in the upper right corner with these three little dots. You'll find these three little dots all over the place when you're looking at things. Sometimes they're within a website you're looking at, or they're like this on a program. And so they're all over, and whenever you click on them, you'll usually get some sort of a menu that will let you do other things. Among those other things is often settings. So we're going to just click the settings for the Chrome browser. Um, I know it's the Chrome browser settings because it's up in this upper corner next to the little Chrome profile image. If you have a matching profile image down lower and three little dots, that's likely to be your email. So let's give you an example of that. I'm going to go into the email here just so that you can see the difference between these settings. This is my example email. And notice here, I've got a bigger circle. This is my Gmail settings. This is my Gmail. And this little gear symbol is my Gmail settings. So we've got settings that are three little dots, settings that are a gear, and sometimes settings are found in a main menu which is called the hamburger menu. So these are the three places that you'll find settings in many different systems. But we care about the browser settings. So I've got Chrome here, and I can look through the list of the various things that have settings. And what I'm looking for is on startup, and that's over here. I can also scroll down and notice I found it here. So if I were at the top and I click on startup, it'll just slide me all the way down to this bottom and show me. So in this startup, I have the option to open a new tab page, and that means it'll open whichever uh, tab is set to the home. So it'll just be a new tab. Anytime I start, it'll have one new tab open. Continue where you left off. This is probably my favorite setting to be in on startup, because then if I were to close my browser, it will come back to the same place I was on. So let's go ahead and close my browser, bring this up here, and I'm going to actually close my browser, and I'm going to open it. I have a ton of browsing instances, and we're going to open my testing browser, and notice the same tabs opened up. So continue where you left off and then open a specific set of pages. This guy here, you can decide which things you actually want it to open to if it's set to this. So I'm going to just leave it at continue where I left off. That's how it works for Chrome. If we were to be using Edge, and we've got Edge, Edge also has three little dots for its settings. We go to settings. It also has a new tab. This one is nice because it has a new tab page and an on startup. So when we click on startup, it'll allow us to choose a continue where we left off. And then on the new tab page, I can actually choose to have a custom web address for my new tab page. New tab tips. So let's go back here into our settings. Customize new package layout and content. So it's going to let me choose. It looks like it lets me choose Microsoft's way of customizing this, which is a little bit misleading, but you know how these things go. So that's the on startup for both the PC and the Mac, for Edge and for Chrome. You've also got Safari. And Safari is a Mac-based program. You can't really get it on the PC. And one of the things that you want to pay attention to with any sort of Mac program, like Safari, is that settings are found on this top bar here. The PC, notice, doesn't have that top bar. It's just a Mac item, see here? And so when I click on Safari, I can look at the preferences for Safari. If I wanted to look at my Mac's preferences, I'd hover over this little apple here and I can see the whole system's preferences. But right now we're just looking at Safari. So Safari and preferences, and that will open that preferences tab. And I can go to general, and that will give me the space where my startup page is. And it wants to start me in Apple, in apple.com startup page. And I'm like, that's silly. I want to set it to where I am. And so here I'm on luxcentric.com. I'm going to just set to current page. And now it will open with my current page. I could have it open with a new window. I could have it open from the windows from the last session. That's what I have on the Chrome and now the Firefox and the Edge, that one. You can open new windows with a start page or the home page, which is what I set to my website. New tabs could open with a start page or an empty page. You can set these settings however it is that you want them to be. If you have a favorite browser and it's your computer's always opening to the wrong type of browser, like let's say you prefer Chrome, but it keeps opening with Safari or it keeps opening with Edge, you can set it as a default, the browser that you prefer. Right now it's saying Safari is not your default. I could set it as a default here. I'm not going to because I prefer Chrome. And so to set Chrome as a default, that would have to be done in the back end settings of the Mac. So here I would go to preferences and There are default. So here's the defaults. And here I can say my default web browser is Chrome. And that will allow Chrome to be the browser that pops up whenever I want to go to a browser. So that's super useful. The same here. And here, if you click your little search and we type in default, we're going to choose our default web browser. This is where you can choose the default web browser you want. Now, word of warning with the PC is you can choose Google, but it's still going to occasionally open Edge for you for certain things like the Microsoft Store and other very Microsofty kinds of things. So just be aware of that. Let's slide back over here to the Mac. And we're going to continue down our optimizing your browser. So once we've chosen our starting point and we've done a little bit of tour of the settings and menus, the next thing we want to do is set up a favorites or bookmarks bar. That, as I've pointed out, is this bit right here, right below the URL that you enter when you want to go somewhere on the internet. Now, often this bookmark bar is hiding, and so you do need to go into your settings to turn it on. And so in the Chrome, you click settings here, and it's nice and cool, right, and available in this bookmarks, and you just simply show bookmarks. If I were to click it, they would hide. See how they've hidden, they're no longer there. I click settings, I go to bookmarks, and I check show bookmarks bar, and they come back. The Safari, let's go over to Safari here. It hides in a slightly different location. We have to find those bookmarks up here in bookmarks. And here we've got show bookmarks, which is one thing. But what we actually want to do is show the bookmarks bar. So we go over here to view, and here we can hide the favorites bar. See, it hid. View, show the favorites bar. In Safari, if we were go to bookmarks and show bookmarks, they pop out here on the side. So whichever way you prefer is the way that you can do it. I'm going to go ahead and hide my bookmarks because I prefer just having them here on the bookmarks bar. And that bookmarks bar is different than standard bookmarks. Let's open this bookmarks bar again. I can show you how that works. So here I have my favorites. And I have then this other folder called organize. Now my favorites are the ones that are showing up here in what Safari calls my favorites bar. So here view, see how it says hide favorites bar and show favorites bar? These are the favorites in my bookmarks. So the bookmarks are here. Notice that this organized folder does not show up in favorites because it's not in this section. But this tools, personal and in process, they show up here. And then of course, Luxcentric also shows up because it's in favorites. So I only keep things in favorites or in the bookmark bar. So we're going to hide these bookmarks. Let's go ahead and continue on in our bookmarks. Once you've got them turned on and they're available, then you can start really organizing. So I often recommend these folders here. We've got an in process folder, and this is for anything that you're like, oh, that's a cool website. I want to evaluate that. You can just put all these things in bookmarks and just let them hang out there as you're, checking them out or dealing with them. I have this evaluating one so that I can keep them separate from something that's maybe more important for me to do or look at. But in process, consider that the websites that you're using, that you're saving, that are temporary. These aren't your permanent things. For business, your business folder, this can be any website that you go to on a regular basis to keep your business running. And then I have training. There's a ton of online trainings that you can take. We save theirs. And then we've got personal references. I have a luxcentric.com favorites because I always want to go to very particular pages on my website. And then we have some others. As you add bookmarks to your list, if you get too many and they're not organized in a way that you expect, they can eventually fall off. So here they've fallen off. And that's what this image here is showing, is how they have fallen off of my bookmarks bar and now are running down the side, which is fine as long as you know that that's what's happening. if you want them to stay up, that's where these folders come in so that you can see them all visually here. Now, while we're in Chrome, and Chrome is my favorite browser, you can click, hold, and drag to move things around. So notice how I've got uh, these bookmarks. They're just sort of hanging out, taking up space on my bookmark. I don't need that because these are all my website pages, and I don't need them up here. So I'm going to click and hold. As soon as I let go of my mouse, it'll take me to this page. So I don't want that. So I'm going to keep holding my mouse button, and I'm going to drag it over to the folder called Luxcentric until it lights up. See how I take it? If I hold too long, it goes away because it thinks you don't really want to do that. So here we'll hold it and let it light up. And then once it lights up, you can also go down and see how the line is. This line will tell me where I'm putting this bookmark. Let's go ahead and put it right here. Now that bookmarked has gone into this folder, which you're thinking, oh, that's super great, but how do I get bookmarks on there? So let's put that one. So to get a bookmark into your bookmarks bar, you're going to need to go to the website you want to bookmark. Now, as I'm going and navigating, one word of warning. You want to make sure you are aware that when you click on a bookmark, it will take over the page you have open. So right now I have this Optimize Your Browser tab. If I were to click on Delete the Drags here, it would wipe out Optimize Your Browser and put Delete the Drags in there. So I like to make a habit of clicking on the plus and then clicking on a bookmark. See here how it's got Google search right now? That's fine. Now I'm going to click on Delete the Drags. See how that overwrote Google and now has Delete the Drags up here. So I want to go to a shiny new and different website. So let's go to, what's a fun website? Let's go to Wikipedia. So Wikipedia is coming up. I'm going to go ahead and do that. We're going to go to the Wikipedia website. That's super great. And now over in the corner here, I can click on the little star, and that will bring this little box. This little box will allow me to name this. So let's say I only need it to say Wikipedia. I don't have to have it say the free encyclopedia. That's a lot of words. Let's wipe that out and have it just say Wikipedia. And then I want to save it in my in process folder. Well, here I've got these other folders up. Those aren't the ones I want. So let's choose another folder, and that will bring this larger window showing my entire bookmark infrastructure. And here is where I can click on that in process and save. Very cool thing about our bookmarks is once they are saved here, if you hover over and use your right mouse button, so do a right click, or if you're using the trackpad, you can do two fingers, click two fingers over this. This window will come up and it will allow you to copy that link in which you can paste it somewhere else. So here we can copy the link and then we can open up a program like Google Keep and paste it in. I've got a ton of notes here. So here I'm going to open a new Google Keep note and I'm going to paste my shiny new website link and close. So this is really useful when you have things like scheduling links. So here, if we were to go to my website, let's go over here and we're going to click on my website here. Go to home. I have a scheduling link that I send to all kinds of everybody. So for my introductory session, here, if I want to save that, I can save it in, save my business folder, choose another folder, business, and save. Now I have a nice little link and I can copy that link really quickly and put it in, say, an email to somebody. I could send email that link to Tessa, which adds to my productivity quite a bit. Let's go back to our list here. I've talked about bookmarks. The next thing we do want to look at with your browser is your extensions. And those are the things that make your browser even more exciting. So here we've got a LastPass extension, I have a Loom extension, and a few others. The Chrome extensions are here with this little puzzle piece. And these extensions are little bitty programs attached to your browser to make it more fun. So some of you have the LastPass where it will help you fill in passwords as you need them. Or you might have Zoom, which will allow you to schedule a Zoom session on the fly or connect it to your calendar in Google. Um, they do a variety of really cool things. And it's good to know what extensions you have and whether or not you want them. So in Chrome, we've got the puzzle piece, and that will allow us to click Manage Your Extensions. And that gives this page gives us a link of what extensions are installed and what extensions are turned on. There are also extensions available in Safari and Edge, and you'll find them in settings. They often call themselves tools or plugins or something like that. So take a look at your favorite browser and whether or not you have extensions and see which ones you have. So here we're looking at the Chrome extensions. These are the ones that are turned on. If you don't recognize an extension, if you're like, I don't know what that is, and I don't know if I need it, you can go ahead and turn it off and see how your browser behaves. And if you don't see any sort of negative impacting on your browser, then you can go ahead and remove it safely and it will be unlikely to cause any more damage because there are some extensions that are not so good for your browser or you're navigating the internet. And so removing them is a good idea because your browser doesn't actually need any extensions to navigate the internet and do things. You can turn them all off and you can remove them all and be super clean and agile or streamlined, or however you want to think about it. But there are other extensions that are super useful, such as this Loom that allows me to record a screen. LastPass saves passwords and helps me pre-fill passwords. So they're useful, but they're not necessary. Continuing on in our instructions for optimizing your browser, the last thing I want to talk about is passwords stored in browsers. The passwords these days, both Safari, Chrome, Edge, Firefox, they all have the capability of storing passwords in your browser. Now, this is super useful and somewhat creepy. It really depends on how you want to do it. Initially, it's much easier to save passwords in your browser. It has its pros and its cons. They say it's a bit less secure to save your passwords in your browser, and that's true, but it's not less secure in a sense that it's dangerous. It's just simply there are more things you can do to be even more secure. So maybe it's the difference between locking your door versus locking your door and putting in an alarm system. So I'm going to go ahead to settings here because it's not inconceivable to have passwords stored in your browser. In fact, it's a very good way to begin the password management system that you may set up. So clicking on settings, it brings us to this page. And here we've got the passwords right here. And when I click on this, it will show me that Google Chrome is set to offer to save my passwords. So whenever I'm navigating the internet, a little box will pop down saying, hey, do you want to save this? It may automatically sign me in if it has my web credentials. I can turn it off and it will make me say, yes, go ahead and sign in. Next, it has the list of passwords that it has saved. Now, this is pretty cool because you can click the eyeball and it will show you what password it has saved. And it will allow you to edit that password. This is kind of a new feature. They didn't have this before. You had to just delete them and then enter them according to their system. But if you've got a password in your system that is automatically filling for you and it's wrong, you can probably find it here and delete it or edit it as you need to. So this is super useful. One thing also to be aware of is if you are clearing your cookies and your cache, so let's go to my settings, history, history, and we go to clear browsing data. If you are in the basic setting, you're fine as far as clearing your cookies and cache. In your advanced setting, you'll want to uncheck these items, or most likely on default, they will be unchecked so that your passwords don't get wiped out. If you're super creeped out by the fact that Chrome has a whole bunch of passwords saved for you, you can check marquee this and clear the data, and all those passwords will be wiped out from your system. And they'll no longer be listed here, and they'll no longer work. So that's a thing that you're going to need to make a decision about on your own as to whether or not you want to do that. So back to our optimize your browser. This was the last bit in this game space for optimizing your browser. You can drill deeper into other more useful things and see the blog posts and KV articles below. Thank you all for joining me, and until next time, I will see you all about the internet.